Xenoverse 2 has had one of the longest runs I've ever seen for a fighting game that's not featured in any kind of competitive tournaments or anything along those lines. But is it finally time for this game to come to an end? Are we finally reaching the end phases of Xenoverse 2? Well, in today's video, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, so let's jump into it. Xenoverse 2 is undeniably one of the GOATs when it comes to Dragon Ball gaming, but at the same time, this GOAT may finally be coming to an end with DLC 16. And there's actually a couple reasons why I feel this way, and I'm going to start on the reason that I feel has the most, importance or credit behind it, you could say, and that is the simple fact, guys, that when you look at all Dragon Ball games that are still getting content right now, there's only one that has not been announced with a next-gen version up until this point in time, and that is Xenoverse 2. Xenoverse 2 is the only one between Kakarot and Fighters that has not had a next-gen announcement made for this game. Now, you would think out of all three of these, this would be the one to get it the most, just due to the simple fact, well, it gets by far more DLC content than Kakarot or Fighters does. So it would make sense if they had further plans for this game after DLC 16 and into the future even beyond that, that they would make a next-gen version of this game to put it on PS5 and Xbox Series X/S, just like they are doing for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and Dragon Ball Fighters. But that is not the case. There has been no announcement for a next-gen version of Xenoverse 2 up until this point in time. And I just find that very, very strange, considering, again, this game gets more DLC than both Kakarot and Fighters. Really, if you combine both of them, like if you combine the amount of content that Fighters and Kakarot have gotten in the last year, Xenoverse 2 has gotten more DLC packs than both of them. So the simple fact that this is the only one not getting a next-gen version at this point in time really makes me feel like they may not have much future plans for this game, and we may be moving on to Xenoverse 3 sometime in the near future, at the very least in terms of an announcement. Obviously, it's still going to take a while for Xenoverse 3 to be released. It'll probably take like a year after the game is actually announced, and we're not even at the point of an announcement yet. But the simple fact that Xenoverse 2 has no plans of a next-gen version truly makes me wonder, is this game actually coming to an end? And then also, guys, there's the upcoming Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour. The Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour, you would feel, would be a perfect opportunity to announce a next DLC if they have one planned in any way, shape, or form. But as it stands right now, if you go through the Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour Twitter, there is still no plans for any game being at this event except the Dragon Ball Super card game, Fighters, and Dragon Ball Legends. All this time, they have not announced anything for any other Dragon Ball related game except these three. So it truly makes me feel like Xenoverse 2 is definitely not going to be at the Battle Hour of 2023. And again, it would be that perfect time to announce a next DLC if they did have one planned for this game. Now, those two things are the ones that I look at and feel give me the most reason to believe that this very well may be the last update and final DLC pack we see on this game. But there's also some other reasons that I feel you could look at as well. Because as it stands right now, we have no information on a next DLC at this moment in time. And there are times like in DLC 15, we already knew that DLC 16 was going to be a thing. And even when before DLC 14 had released, we knew DLC 15 was going to be a thing because the hero vote was not coming in DLC 14. So there was reasons to know like the last 3 or 4 DLCs were still going to come even before they were actually released. That is not the case this time around. As it stands right now, we have no news or information on a DLC 17 on this game. So there's a couple things, guys, that you can really look at and start to wonder, is this actually going to be it for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2? Is DLC 16 going to be the final pack on this game? And what a pack to go out on at the same time. Like, let's really think about DLC 16. DLC 16 is set to be one of the most hyped DLC packs in terms of the characters we're getting that we've had in a very, very long time. I mean, Beast Gohan, Orange Piccolo, two brand new forms of main characters from Dragon Ball Z in this DLC, like in one single DLC. That is insanely hype, and it would be a great DLC pack to go out on at the same time. Now, this next thing that I'm going to point to, guys, doesn't necessarily have the most meaning in it, but you can look into it and kind of come to a conclusion that the DLC 16 story might actually be the final one if we do get one. Because look back at DLC 15. DLC 15 was the first DLC pack we didn't get a story for in any way, shape, or form for a very, very long time. And like I've said before, I do feel like Few is building up to something bigger with each and every single DLC story that he's actually featured in. He's been gaining this energy through these crystals and issues with the time that he's causing, all things like that. But what's the purpose of this energy? He's mentioned some kind of experiment or something like that he has going on, but we still don't know what he's exactly doing with all this energy that he's gathering. DLC 16, if this is the final one, would be a perfect time to come back with the story and leave us on a cliffhanger for a Xenoverse 3. So there's multiple things, guys, that do point to the possibility of this being the final update and final DLC of this game. Now, at the end of the day, of course, this is just speculation. This is not confirmation or anything along those lines, but I just feel like this really might be it when it comes to Xenoverse 2, and let me know how you would feel about that down below in the comments. Would you be happy if this was the final DLC for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and we finally are going to be moving on to a Xenoverse 3? Or are you still one of those out there that would still like to see more DLC packs come to this game after DLC 16? Because believe it or not, there are a lot of people who fall into the line of thinking that we don't necessarily need a Xenoverse 3. Xenoverse 2 should just keep getting updates with new DLCs and it'll be fine. Personally, I just disagree completely. I think Xenoverse 3 would have the opportunity to fix a lot of things and add a lot of things as well. Like, if you really look at the differences between Xenoverse 1 and Xenoverse 2, is absolutely massive. And that was after a 1-year break between the games. Xenoverse 2 released like a year and 2 months after Xenoverse 1 did. Well, if it's been over 6 years now between Xenoverse 2 and Xenoverse 3, the improvements that they could make to that game, you would imagine, could be even larger than what they did from Xenoverse 1 to 2. So just imagine how great of a game 3 would be at that point in time. And regardless of just major improvements to the game, like gameplay mechanics and all things like that, there's one thing above all that the community would love to see fixed in Xenoverse 3, and that is the netcode. So to me, I don't fall in line at all with that line of thinking where people just say, oh, Xenoverse 2 should just keep getting updates and DLC. There's no need for Xenoverse 3. Like, to me, that just does not make much sense, because there's so much that they can improve upon, especially with netcode. And now that we are on next gen consoles, imagine the graphical changes that they could make for this game at the same time. So again, man, let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Do you think that it is possible that DLC 16 could be the final update for this game for the reasons I mentioned? And honestly, the reason that I feel the most out of all the ones that I mentioned again was the fact that we don't have any next gen announcement for the Dragon Ball game that gets the most content on a yearly basis. Like, that out of everything just does not make sense unless there were plans for a Xenoverse 3 being announced sometime in the near future, which, like I said, E3 2023 is coming right around the corner and would be the perfect opportunity, in my opinion, at the very least, to put, or not to put, but to announce Xenoverse 3 to the world. So again, let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Do you think DLC 16 will be it? Or do you think that we're still going to continue and see more DLCs on this game? Let me know where you side with that. But as always, man, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, hope you guys have a good one. Peace, y'all.